That's literally slow suicide as far as I'm concerned. Like, if you know you're meant for more, you're meant to inspire, you're meant to have greater income, impact, influence, you're meant to be able to be an orator, you want to start your own YouTube channel, you want to start your own podcast, you want to start your own business, you want to start donating to your church and your charity that you believe in, but you're not, and you're dragging your feet on it. Every day that you drag your feet, your subconscious mind begins to punish you through anxiety, depression, overwhelm, all those things that you are feeling, that you are medicating yourself through video games and overeating and smoking weed and television and pornography, strip clubs, alcohol. I don't know. All those things are designed to shield you. You do that so you could shield yourself from feeling your calling. But how long are you going to do that? Because when you sober up, what do you feel? Regret. You feel worse. You don't feel better. No one wakes up after a night of heavy smoking and video gaming and eating like a fucking animal. You don't wake up the next morning and go, man, I feel good about myself. You don't. You don't. You know when I feel best about myself? When I take my friends and family out to an amazing dinner and I leave a $7,000 tip. I feel good about myself. I love that when I'm driving through a parking lot, I see someone with a flat tire, I can get out and help them change their tire. Like, I love that. Makes me feel good about myself when I serve people. I love that when I get on stage in front of thousands of people and I can deliver an impactful talk that really changes a person's trajectory in life. I feel good about myself. Now, all those things are not comfortable. Like, I could be driving through the parking lot and I can negotiate with myself and say, look, I don't have time to help that woman with her flat tire. I got to get to work. I got shit to do. But I know that I'm meant to serve. And so if I don't pull over and help, consciousness is going to eat away at me. And here's what happens is you end up negotiating so much with your inner bitch. And you begin to negotiate away your dreams. You begin to negotiate your purpose. You begin to negotiate and say, you know what, I'll settle for the crumbs instead of settling for the whole loaf. Hell, why not negotiate your way and buy the bakery instead of settling for crumbs? And if you're wondering, well, where does all this come from? Like, why do we settle? Why do we soothe and shield ourselves with drugs and vices and addictions? Well, it's simple. It's simple. No one gets out of life without having some emotional and mental scars. And emotional and mental scars end up creating stories. I'll give you a great example. As a young boy, between the ages of 4 and 6, I was molested by 2 older boys in Armenia, right? So I've experienced sexual abuse. When we escaped the Soviet Union and came to the United States, not only did my parents bring me to an amazing country of freedom and opportunity, what they don't realize is they freed me from a constant barrage of being molested. Now you can imagine being molested, sexually abused, left emotional scars on me. It made me feel unlovable, made me feel broken, made me feel like I'm not worthy, made me not trust men. It made me feel anxious and depressed. Now, until I dealt with that, all those feelings were like this dark passenger that drove with me everywhere I went. And even when I tried to get in a great relationship, my dark passenger, little nod to Dexter, the TV show, right? My dark passenger was there to remind me that I'm a piece of shit, that I'm not worthy, I'm not lovable, that I'm broken, and who would want me? So if that's your inner dialogue because you've dealt with sexual abuse, physical abuse, mental abuse, maybe you were bullied, I don't know what your situation was, but I can tell you that most of us, in fact, studies show that 1 out of every 3 people have had some kind of mental, physical, sexual abuse. And that abuse begins to cause these stories that you create in your head. And these are all stories that are inaccurate. They are false narratives. It's like you're wearing a false mask. They create insecurities in you. And you operate from a place of storytelling instead of reality. So what are the stories that you're telling yourself, my friends? What are the stories? Is it because you were a fat kid and they called you gordito? I had a Mexican friend when I lived in one of the Section 8 housings. They call him gordito. right? I think in Spanish it means like little fatty. I get it. Cute little name, cute little nickname for a 10-year-old, 11-year-old. But didn't little gordito end up taking on the personality and feeling like, well, just a fat fuck as he got older? And if you feel like a fat fuck, and if the people that you love and who are supposed to protect you, with the best of intentions, called you gordito, didn't that leave scars? And doesn't it make sense then this friend of mine might end up sabotaging a lot of things in life because he believes that he's unworthy, unlovable, that he's to be made fun of? So unless you process through your pain, unless you overcome your traumas that you've experienced, it's not just going to happen by reading books. It's going to happen by working with a therapist. And if you're a dude, I'm here to tell you, because I've worked with 3 therapists. My third and final therapist was the one, Kevin Downing in Brea, California. I'm here to tell you that if you're a dude, you got to work with the male therapist. And you got to work with one that's got some experience, who's dealt with people like you. Otherwise, you keep telling yourself these bullshit stories, these narratives that aren't even real. And once you start doing the self-work and you tap into self-mastery and you connect with higher consciousness and you begin to deal with the traumas that you've experienced, you know what ends up happening? You begin to rewrite a different story. See, up until this point, the people that abused you, that hurt you, that even family members that meant well, but, said you were clumsy or slow or unworthy or goofy, or you're just not good at math, they ended up projecting all these things on you, right? And by projecting all these things on you, what happens next? You begin to tell yourself this fake story. But what if you could heal through that, take on new challenges, push yourself through new adversities, learn new skills and traits, rewrite your story moving forward? You will literally have a 2.0 version of your life. You don't have to have this 1.0 version. You don't have to have this victim mentality. You don't have to go around telling everybody your sad story of what happened to you and why you're this way. You can go and rewrite the story. You can grab the pen back from the hands of the abusers, of the bullies, of those that created limiting beliefs, and you could rewrite the story yourself in all the blank pages that exist in your book of life. But that only happens when you start doing the self-work, when you commit to self-mastery. And I'm telling you, it's not just by reading a couple of self-help books. It is by working with a therapist. It is by doing the deep work. It is by going through things like the project. It is by putting yourself through hardship. It is by figuring out who you are at your core, at your essence, what makes you tick. And only then will you be able to set higher standards of expectations for yourself. Only then will you begin to reach the milestone of impact, income, influence, inspiration. God, it's such a fucking cool thing to be able to break through the seals of all your limiting beliefs in life. But I'm here to tell you that your past is not your future. It's not. But each time you go talking about your past and what went wrong and why you're this way, you just reinforce the past to become your future. So please hear me as I tell you this. Your past is not your future. You can heal. You can get past your traumas. You can fall back in love with the person that you are. You can inspire. You can influence. You can make more money. You can have greater meaning. You don't have to be depressed. You don't have to be addicted. You don't have to have the vices. But you do have to do the work. And when you do, you will take that pen back and start rewriting the next version of yourself. You get to decide what the next 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 years look like. No one else. Guys, I love you to pieces.